It is now my pleasure to welcome to our main stage here and introduce Uzra Zeya, Undersecretary of State for Civilian Security, Democracy, and Human Rights, who will share keynote remarks on the official Summit for Democracy in the coming year of action. Uzra has been a friend and a champion of freedom throughout her career, and we're so pleased to have her with us today. The Secretary has been working to tee up what is going to be an extraordinary summit over the next 2 days, and we look forward to her preview with us. So, Madam Secretary, over to you.
Thank you so much, Damon, for an inspiring opening and the opportunity to speak this afternoon. I'm deeply honored to be here to talk about the Biden administration's democracy renewal agenda. I want to start by thanking each of you here today for the work you do every day to protect and advance democratic values around the world. I'm especially glad to join you today as we kick off the Summit for Democracy, President Biden's signature democracy renewal event this year. We have a remarkable lineup of champions of freedom on the dais, the virtual dais today, including Secretary Albright and Senator Sullivan, former heads of state and Ned family leaders. In addition, I'm thrilled to be here virtually with this year's Nobel Peace Prize honoree, Maria Ressa. Maria, thank you for the inspirational work you do to shine a light on abuses in the Philippines. You're a beacon to human rights defenders, women, youth, and journalists all over the world. And Maria and I share a very dear personal connection. My sister helped hire Maria at CNN many years ago, and it's been simply thrilling to watch your indispensable work over these last many years. So good to be with you all. As you all know, we're facing unprecedented challenges to democracy, both at home and abroad. Corruption, inequality, and the failure of many democratic governments to deliver for their citizens have fueled doubts about the democratic model and led to a rise of leaders who abandon or attack democratic norms. Authoritarian regimes advance false narratives of superiority while seeking to undermine our institutions, bolster opponents of democracy within our systems, and discredit our values. These trend lines are exacerbated by the misuse of technology to spread disinformation, censor, and arbitrarily or unlawfully surveil, and erode public trust in democracy. Meanwhile, the international community is facing an extraordinary set of crises that know no borders, including the COVID-19 pandemic, racial inequality, record levels of forced displacement, and a deepening climate crisis. As President Biden has said, it is the challenge of our times to demonstrate that democracies can rise to these challenges and deliver for our citizens. We know that societies that respect and defend human rights, uphold the rule of law, and support inclusive, accountable governance are best equipped to produce durable solutions to even the most difficult problems. But some people in our societies, particularly persons of color and minorities, see a gap between what we promise and what we deliver. So we find ourselves in a moment of democratic reckoning. Autocrats offer their citizens the false choice between their freedom and their security and prosperity. The task before us as democracies is to deliver on the issues that matter most to our people while continually renewing and perfecting our respective democratic projects. While there's no shortage of challenges to our democracies, we have no doubt about the best way to tackle them. We must put these problems out into the open and work together to solve them. That's always been democracy's greatest strength, the power it provides to people to improve their societies and to work towards a more perfect union. With this in mind, President Biden has called for a global democratic renewal to galvanize action to reinvigorate democracies and demonstrate that they can deliver the best results for their people and the world. The Biden administration has been clear from day one on the imperative to center democratic values and human rights in our foreign policy. President Biden has also been clear from day one that America must be engaged bilaterally and multilaterally with partners across the spectrum who want to work towards these foundational values on which our nation is built. To be leaders for democracy and human rights abroad, we must live up to these principles here at home. This is why President Biden has prioritized renewal of democracy here in the United States as well. On his first day in office, the president issued an executive order that requires all federal agencies to enforce prohibitions on discrimination based on sexual orientation, and that once again allows transgender Americans to serve in our nation's military. On the same day, the president also issued an executive order for a comprehensive federal government approach to advancing equity for all, including people of color and historically underserved or marginalized populations. In addition, the recently enacted bipartisan infrastructure bill is bringing broadband internet to rural parts of our country so students can continue school online through COVID, and providing urgent funding for public works projects to keep our roads and bridges safe. This is what democracies must do: deliver real results for our people. And this is what President Biden had in mind when he announced his intent to hold a summit for democracy during his first year in office. The summit this week is a kickoff event that brings together over 100 democracies from every part of the globe, plus hundreds of civil society partners, to reaffirm our commitment to democracy, find concrete ways to work together to address some of our toughest challenges, and recommit to delivering for our citizens in ways that matter most for their lives. Because much work remains to be done in our own country, we approach this week's summit with humility, given the many continued challenges at home. But we also come with the confidence of having the will and the tools to improve our democracy. The summit is an invitation to fellow democracies to join that quest. This moment requires us to come together, learn together, stand together, and act together. The Summit for Democracy has three overarching goals. One, to defend against authoritarianism. Two, to elevate the fight against corruption. And three, to advance respect for human rights domestically and abroad. We've invited countries to share meaningful commitments, for example, supporting free, independent public media as a counterweight to the spread of disinformation, combating illicit finance and holding kleptocrats accountable, and supporting democratic reformers on the front lines of human rights activism so they can continue their critical work. We're putting forward our own set of commitments as well. Internationally, these include galvanizing donors to support free media, launching complementary anti-corruption sanctions regimes to make corrupt actors pay a higher price for their illicit activities, and ensuring that those on the front lines of often very dangerous work have the financial support they need to continue. Domestically, we expect the president will announce commitments across the three summit goals, including related to securing free and fair elections, restoring ethics and democratic norms in government, galvanizing civic engagement through the American Rescue Plan, fighting corruption through beneficial ownership regulations, and advancing equity and equality for all people, regardless of their race, sex, religion, sexual orientation, gender identity, or disability. This year's summit also kicks off a year of action during which we'll partner with governments and civil society to turn commitments into concrete results. Next year, we want to show that we've made progress on our commitments and that we're moving the needle in the right direction on our democracy renewal goals. The centerpiece of our Year of Action plan is a focused consultative process across the summit's pillars, co-led by governments and civil society, that will bring summit participants together to deepen our collective action on commitments and identify new areas that need greater attention. We plan to launch champion cohorts to take on certain subsets of the summit's goals, and we'll look to governments and civil society partners to co-lead these cohorts with us. In addition to civil society, the Year of Action will also engage the private sector, which has a central role to play in driving prosperity while advancing our values, and can be a powerful impetus for rule of law reform, anti-corruption efforts, and workers' rights. We look forward to working with the private sector to enhance human rights, in particular in the digital technology space, to ensure that technology is used as a tool to strengthen democracies and not as a weapon of repression used by authoritarians to silence their people. In closing, I'd like to once more thank the NED for convening today's session, and I look forward to working with all of you as we press forward on our important democracy renewal efforts. You've heard President Biden say this, but it's worth repeating. Democracy doesn't happen by accident. We have to defend it, fight for it, strengthen it, renew it. We look forward to doing so together. Thank you.